Hello, I'm Leona Dooley, and this is Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme in the kitchen. And in the kitchen is where we work hard, we love God and family, and we know without a doubt that everything else is just gravy. Now, while we are in our homes and just enjoying every moment with our family, we are going to take a look at cleaning, at cooking, at decorating, and just in general, all things done in the kitchen. Now, I'm hoping that you're going to take a moment and subscribe. I hope that you're going to watch videos from beginning to end because you don't want to miss a thing, because you never know what may pop up toward the end of a video that you'll think, how did I miss that? So, always make sure you stay to the end. Now, today we are going to be doing some things in the kitchen, and we're just going to take a moment. We're going to talk with each other. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world, and we're just going to have a good time. So, stay tuned. All right, let's first talk about some of the things that are going on. I don't know about you, but I have had it. I had to get out of the house today, and I put on my mask, I had my gloves, and hubby and I went out and did a little grocery shopping. Well, I say a little grocery shopping, it ended up a major grocery shopping, and just picked up some things, and we're back. And we've gotten everything put away, but you know what? I'm still feeling very unsettled. And I don't know about you, but I think part of it is just about uncertainty. We don't, it's one thing to stay at home if we have a snow day, or if we have a bad snow and you're off for 4 or 5 days, at least you know that once the snow gets better, you're going back to work, or you're going back to whatever your normal routine is. But I tell you what, with this, it's just totally different. And so we just have to be real with each other. I woke up this morning and I was struggling. Not so much struggling to get out of bed. I was ready to get up. I was thankful to God that, I was able to wake up, because, a lot of people didn't. And I pray for those families, and certainly we continue to pray for each other. But I was struggling because I'm at that point of, this must be Groundhog Day. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. And so I was trying to perk myself up, which I'm usually pretty good at doing. But you know what? It wasn't so easy to do today. So I'm in the kitchen, and I'm changing everything I can put my hand on, and I'm turning things around, and I'm putting up some stuff that's just I can look at and smile and go, I really like that. That made me happy, and that made me smile for today, because I know I'm going to have to look at it tomorrow. So we're going to do a little cooking today. We're going to make some things right here in the kitchen. I'm going to turn you down in a little while, and we're going to whip up a few things that are going to make the kitchen smell good, and we're going to start to work on dinner, and we're just going to have a good time right here in the kitchen. So sit right there, grab something to drink, and get your notebook, because you're going to want these recipes. Now, the first thing I did, this is my window wreath. I've got my little cardinals in the window, and they're going to be singing happily as the sun continues to shine. Today, we've got liquid sunshine, which means that it's raining. Okay, but we got sunshine in here, so that's a good thing. Now, I've talked a lot about shining your light. We're going to be serious for a few moments. There are those who are suffering. There are those who are hungry. There are those who are homeless. There are those who are just struggling from one day to another. Sometimes it's because of mental concerns, and sometimes it's because they're lonely, but people are struggling. And so I've talked about the fact that I have asked each of you to shine a light. Now, you typically shine that light using my candle. And I have to admit, thank goodness for Walmart, I found the cutest little lamp to go right here in this window, because this window opens up to many houses. And what I did was I made a vignette. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to bring it down just a little bit lower and let you get closer, because I put this vignette together so that we can continue to shine the light each day. And that's not saying that I'm not going to light my candle, because I do that. That's the first thing I do in the morning. And that is as much for me, lifting me, shining my light within, as well as for you, shining the light out to the world. But this light is like a candle in my window. I have a candle on the front of the house that shines and glows all night. I have this lamp that is here until morning, and when I turn this off, the candle is glowing in the kitchen window. So the point is to keep your light shining. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at what we've done. We've got our wreath, and I've added a few things to the wreath to give it a little more touch of summer. I've added some more reds and just continue to make a few changes, because that's what I do to this particular wreath. But as we look down, I want you to look at this vignette. Let's see if I can put you in a place where you're a little more steady. Now, you're more on eye level with our vignette. Here's our lamp that I found for, I know it was maybe $13.99, if that. But it's a cute little lamp, kind of shaped like an egg, but it sits right there perfectly in this vignette. And on my tray, I've added a few more springy, bright, almost summer flowers. And look who's peeking out. My little hen is right there. And she's peeking there, just keeping a watch on things. As we move across this table, there are two more cardinals. And those two cardinals are letting you know that love never fails. God is good, and he certainly takes care of each of us. So this little area is ready. I've got my favorite cookbooks over there. And so we are going to have a cooking good time today. So remember, find a way to shine your light. Now I had eggs. I had 2 wreaths full of Easter eggs that were hanging on my pantry. And I thought, it's time for them to go. So I wanted a little more summer look. So this morning I got up, made some bows, and put my wreaths up. So I am working with what I have and allowing them to take center stage right here in the kitchen. So those are my pantry doors. So every time I go in and out of the pantry, I'm able to look at these beautiful wreaths. Okay, first, I have my silicone cupcake tin, and what I'm going to do, I've got a lot of stuff on this table. I've got coffee that I've been trying to work on since 8 o'clock this morning. It's been re-warmed at least 3 times, so you can just imagine what it tastes like at this point. But I have some little silver baking cups. And I'm going to take these baking cups And of course they don't want to open, but I'm going to take those baking cups and place them in these little tins. Now, the silicone cups are great in that I really could just bake them right here in these little containers, but I wanted the cup. The cup is really cute and it's pretty, so I wanted to get them out. Now I'm going to have to put them in, and then I'll work on getting them perfectly shaped in just a moment because they're sticking as they come out. I think that's the metallic feature. I don't know if you can tell, but they're silver. And I thought, oh, how pretty. They're going to look very nice on my cake stand. So I'm getting those in. The recipe that we're going to make today should make about 12. And we're going to make sure it makes 12. So, just so you know. I'm going to push it. If it's a little bit more, then we'll pump those little cups up and add a little more to it. And if not, then we'll work on them otherwise. So, I'm just putting these in. As you can see, it's taking a minute, but that's okay. All right, so let's go back in. Let's take our fingers and just kind of get them settled into those silicone cups with your hands. Make sure they're level. And then we're going to sit these off to the side so that they're ready and waiting for us. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is to show you my frozen bananas. When my bananas get a little too ripe, I throw them into the freezer and I throw them skin and all. You don't have to wrap it, you just put them in your freezer. And when you're ready for your banana bread, then all you have to do is just peel the peel off, and they are already quite mushy. So here's one. I'm going to put in about, I'm going to say about 4 bananas. There's one. I'm going to continue with these. And I'm going to have 4 bananas in this bowl. Now, I want you to see, here are my frozen bananas. You see how brown and yucky that they look. And you know what? That's okay, because these I will not need for this recipe. So they're going to go back in the freezer for later. My kitchen smells so tropical. I've got my bananas that are all mushy and yucky. I'm going to add in a 1/2 cup of honey. This cup has been sprayed, and you know, it takes a little while. This is raw honey, so because of that, it's a little stiffer than our regular filtered honey that you normally see in the grocery store. This is totally unfiltered. All right, so there's our honey. You see how easy that came out? That's because I sprayed that container. Now, I have my mixer disc ready to go because I want to use the mixer. It'll just move along very quickly. We've got a 1/3 cup of oil, so I'm going to put that in. And I'm going to take that, I'm going to let this mix for a little while. We're going to add in our baking soda, our vanilla extract, some salt, some cinnamon. In fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and just put everything in and whip it up. Now, this particular recipe is going to use some oatmeal. And I like to use the old-fashioned oatmeal. Now, certainly you could use the regular, but I think the old-fashioned just gives it a special texture. So we're going to put in now, since I'm trying to save time, a teaspoon of baking soda. Sprinkle that in. We're going to need a teaspoon of vanilla. Going to need a half teaspoon. Oops. Hold on. Got baking powder. I really didn't want that, but that's okay. We're going to leave it in, and we'll have to adjust it later. So there's our teaspoon. We're making an adjustment here because I picked up the wrong thing. I got my baking powder rather than baking soda. So I'm going to add a little bit of both, and we'll see how that works out. So you'll see at the end. So that's in there. We need salt, and I'm going to need about a half teaspoon of salt. Half teaspoon of salt, and I'll put the corrected recipe down below. And we're going to need some cinnamon. Let's get our cinnamon. And we need about a half teaspoon of that. We're going to need in 1 3/4 cup of plain flour. So let's get that. Okay, I have my 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I have in my 1/3 cup of oats, and I'm going to add in, after this is mixed, I'll add in the cranberries. I need to add in some vanilla. That I forgot. Now, we like vanilla. The recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla, but I'm going to probably give it just a little extra. There's 1, and I'm going to give it 2 because I like the taste of it, and I like the smell of it. All right, so we've got all this in. I'm going to take it, give it a good mix, and then we'll add the cranberries in. Okay, guys, we got a little bit more of mixing, but I'm going to go ahead and start to add in our cranberries. And we need about a cup of cranberries. So I have a 1 cup measure. I'm going to put those in. Okay. And I'm going to sprinkle those in. Going to put it back on the mixer, and then we're going to be ready to put them in those muffin tins. Our batter looks delicious. So we're going to make some room. Going to get everything ready to go into those muffin tins. So let's give me just a second. I'm going to get everything cleared. Put our oatmeal away, put our flour away, and get all these little containers put up, and then we'll get everything into the tins. So, cranberries, check. There's the flour, there's the oats. I'm gonna need butter later, so I'm letting that sit out. All these little containers. All right, I have a little measuring cup that I'm going to be using to scoop. So I'm just going to take this out, get it all cleaned off if I can, because it has eggs in it, so I don't want to lick it. All right, there we go. We'll put that in the sink so it can get cleaned off. Go around the sides, make sure we have everything ready. And our banana oat cranberry muffins are going to be delicious. So I'm going to fill this container about a half cup, and that way I can kind of measure out what we have. And I'll start the first one, and you can see I'm filling it up pretty full. I'm just using my spatula to kind of clean it off as we go. And we're going to put a little topping on the top. Not a sweet topping, not like a brown sugar topping. We're just going to make sure that anyone who sees these knows what's in it. We're going to sprinkle it with some oats and just a tiny bit of sugar to give it just a little extra crystally look to it. You know, muffins are just so much fun to have in the morning. They're so easy to just kind of warm them up. And we'll have to go back and kind of clean up a little bit. I'm being a little messy, but that's okay. I'll make sure we have cranberries in every one. I'm filling these up. Looks like we may have a little extra. Okay, let me get another. Or we may be right on the nose now that I'm looking at it. Yep, I think we are. Just exactly right. One more. Wipe that off, and then we'll get the tin cleaned off before it goes into the oven. Now, my oven is preheating to 325. We're going to cook them low and slow because you know there's a lot of sugary stuff that's in here. Okay, we're good to go. I'm going to get this cleaned up and in the oven. They're going to stay in the oven for about 20 minutes. Now, let's dress them. We're going to sprinkle just a little pinch of oats on the top of each one. That's going to make them look pretty. And after all, we don't want them to burn either. So if you notice that your oven's getting a little too hot, or that they're cooking too fast and they're not quite ready, then you're going to want to cut your oven back just a little bit, or put some paper, some foil on top to protect them so they won't get too terribly dark. Because we want them pretty, but we don't want them black. Okay, now I'm going to get the sugar, just give it a pinch, and sprinkle a little bit of sugar. Yeah, want to make sure I had it right. You know, it's always possible to think you have sugar, and guess what you have? Salt. Now, we don't want to do that. So I'm just sprinkling the tops with sugar. Going to have a nice little crispy top, but not overly sweet. Okay, I think we're good to go. What do you think? I think they look beautiful. Now, let me clean them off and get them in. I don't know about you, but sometimes we've had so much chicken that it comes to a point of where you're trying to figure out, okay, what can I do with this chicken that's going to give it a little something extra? So tonight we're going to wrap some chicken breast. We're going to give it a good seasoning, and we're going to wrap it with some bacon. And then we're going to baste it with a little pesto sauce. We're going to put it in the oven and let it cook for 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to do that in our Lodge pan. And we're going to have some delicious chicken tonight.
Hubby came into the kitchen, and that was the end of quiet for just a few moments. And so I'm sticking in just a little bit. You're going to see that I'm taking my 3 chicken breasts and I'm sprinkling it with some pepper. And that particular container of pepper actually was the leftovers from where I was filling the salt and pepper shakers. And so I just kind of took the leftover and sprinkled it on the chicken, because after all, we're going to have pepper on them anyway. Look over to the skillet and you're going to see oil and butter. This skillet has been sitting in that oven while the muffins were cooking. So I am sprinkling now on some house seasoning and just giving them a good shake because we want them to taste good. Now, normally I do not buy chicken breasts that don't have skin. And the reason for that is that it's just too easy for them to get dry. And I like having the skin on them. But since we're wrapping them in bacon, hopefully they will stay nice and moist. So I'm just giving everybody a good rub and letting them get nice and seasoned. And then we're going to start to add the bacon. 1 slice of bacon on each of the chicken breasts. It's going to be wrapped. Okay, and I'm setting them in that hot skillet. And at this point, the skillet's been out a moment, so it's not screaming hot, but it is pretty hot. So I'm just wrapping those around. Okay. And 1 more. These are nice thin slices of bacon, so they should cook very well. They won't leave a ton of grease. And in fact, what I think you'll probably want to do is to check them about halfway through cooking. And if there is any excessive amount of grease, you'll just want to pour that off. But don't throw it away. Hold it for another day.
Well, we are going to have a delicious dinner. I have cut some yellow squash, and this is a squash I got. If you look back at my vlog that I did where I received a box of vegetables, these are some of the squashes that I had. The 2 that I have left, I'm actually going to slice them and put them in a freezer bag and keep them in the freezer, and I can use them in soup, because I do have 2 more left, but this is more than enough for what we're going to do. And I may even make a squash casserole. Oh, that sounds good. Well, it does to me, but the big guy kind of likes his fresh cooked. Now, I have 2 different kinds of onions in here, and I'm going to add lots of pepper. In fact, I'm going to take the top off the pepper so I can shake in, and you just shake what you like. I'm shaking in quite a bit of pepper because we do like pepper. I'm also going to put in some house seasoning, just like we did with the chicken just a moment ago. Sprinkle some of that in. My hands are clean. And I'm actually going to put in I'm not going to put in the salt yet. I'll do the salt while it's cooking. There we go. So everything is covered. And it's using its own moisture. I'm going to add in just a tad of oil because we are going to saute these. So there we go. Just oil for that, not a lot. So when it's time, we will put these, toss them in a skillet, and it won't take but not even 10 minutes for them to be finished. But that will be on the last 10 minutes of the chicken cooking so that everything can come out at the same time and dinner will be hot. Now, you know, I'm looking at these thinking I have a few maybe tomatoes that I may actually add at the end and toss in some of those in, but I may not. We'll see. We'll see how it goes at the end. But any vegetables that you have that you kind of want to use up, this is a good way to be able to do that. So I'm going to, I got this ready. I'm going to cover it, put it in the refrigerator. The chicken is ready, and I'm actually going to put it into the oven so we can start baking. And our oven's already set on 325. I could do it low and slow, or I could turn it up, either way. I don't know if you can see peeking out right here, but our muffins are out. So I'll show those to you in just a moment. But I need to clean up my hands. Boy, I tell you what, I wish we had smell-o-vision. These muffins smell wonderful. And you can see they look so professional. Now, here's the real taste. I'm going to get the one that I've made a sample muffin because I didn't want to mess with these. So you just hold on. I did one that I call just kind of a free-for-all, where I just kind of threw it on a pan and stuck it in the oven and used the last of a little bit of batter that was in the bowl, and just made one so I would have one that I could kind of play around with and taste. Oh, it came out great. And you can see, even though I did put in baking soda and baking powder, that they came out fine. The only reason this one is flat is because it didn't have a cup to sit in. I just kind of let it spread. And that's okay, because guess what? I'm going to eat it up anyway. Have a bite. Yummy. That is so good. Well, I can't eat all of it because if I do, I'm not going to want my dinner. All right. That's for later. All right, I'm putting the final touches onto our vegetables. I'm throwing in just about a half tablespoon of pesto sauce because I am going to put some pesto on our chicken. I've got the chicken right here in the skillet. And I'm going to add a little pesto to each one. Now let me get my brush. Oh, that smells so good. Now, I can put that away since I'm not going to come back to it. And then I can just spread the pesto on our chicken. That's going to be so good. This pesto sauce that I'm using, I buy at Aldi's, and it's called Priano alla Genovese pesto, and it smells wonderful. and is very, very rich. And once you open it, put it in the refrigerator, it will last quite a while. So I'm very happy with that. I'm going to get my chicken in the oven. And when it's time to take it out, I'll let you see what everything looks like. Dinner is going to be great tonight. Well, guys, I cut up the rest of the yellow squash that I had left over from that box, and I'm going to stick it into the freezer so we can use it another time. I cut it up, as you see, in little slices. I haven't put any seasonings on it because I don't really know what I might do with it. This would be a great vegetable to be able to take a handful, add it into some spaghetti sauce that you might make, a gravy, and it just adds that certain something to what you're doing. So, leftover squash, uncooked, peeled, in the freezer. Well, we are going to finish up the last of dinner, and we're going to make that stir fry with onions and squash. We're going to put that together, and then we're going to be ready to go. So in the bottom of that skillet, I had some grapeseed oil and butter. And I like my squash a little al dente. So because of that, I am not going to cook this to death. We're going to do a quick stir fry. I'm going to turn the heat up. And we're going to stir fry this mixture. My chicken is done. It's over here hiding under there, my bacon wrapped chicken. And I'm just keeping the foil on it so it stays hot because I don't want it to dry out. And we're going to let this stir fry tonight. Now, I can't wait. This is a delicious dinner tonight. And you know, you can be quarantined, but you can have great meals. And they don't have to be pricey. This was quite easy. Chicken breast and a good pot of veggies. In this case, a good skillet of veggies and some homemade banana cranberry oat muffins. Woo-hoo! We are on it tonight. So let's just get that cooking, and I'll show you what those plates look like. Well, before we leave tonight, I just want to say that I am so glad that you spent the time with me in the kitchen tonight. I've had a great time. It's been fun. Oh my goodness, we've gone from the beginning with, we started with fixing something for either dessert or breakfast. Those were our banana cranberry oat muffins. And we also prepared dinner, which was our bacon wrapped chicken breast, and we sauteed some delicious yellow squash with red and yellow onions. Now, I hope that you will take the time to, if you haven't already done so, subscribe. And if you haven't hit that little bell down there, ding, tap that little button and take the time so that you will become a part of the family. You'll be able to get notified anytime that I upload videos. And I guess I really need to apologize for the fact that I was kind of in a slump today. Have you all had one of those days since we've been quarantined? I mean, it really is when it's raining and dreary and gray. It just absolutely wipes you out. And that's where I was today. So it wasn't until I got in the kitchen with you that I was able to get back my smile and relight that candle. So I thank you for being able to do that. Now, thank you for coming to the kitchen of Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme, where we work hard. We love God. We could stop right there. And family. And we know that all this other stuff is just gravy. but we're going to be safe. We're going to stay in unless we absolutely have to go. And if we have to go out, we're going to wear our mask and we're going to use our gloves. So I'll see you soon right here in the kitchen of Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme. Mwah! Blessings to you and yours.